With Sam Sulek's rapid success, it was only a matter of time before he would have major players in the industry interested in signing him. Sure, he was a big name at the time, but not big enough that brands would be chomping at the bit to sign him. However, there was one man who was quick to recognize Sam's immense value: Fouad. See, Fouad Abiad is an IFBB legend who successfully transitioned to the media in his retirement. His brand laid the groundwork and created a lane for retired pros who weren't megastars like Ronnie and Jay to still be able to provide value to the community once inactive. He had built the Real Bodybuilding podcast to lend a voice to other retired and active bodybuilders and has become one of the most successful media brands in bodybuilding. But in accordance with his podcast, one of his most prized possessions is his brand, Hostel. Selling supplements, clothing, and lifting gear, Hostel was an integral part of Fouad's empire and a huge driving force behind his success. Having signed athletes like Nick Walker, Samson Dada, Hostel was exclusively a pro bodybuilder's brand. But to Fouad, Sam was more than worth an exception. He embodied exactly the type of athlete that he wanted on his team and saw a massive opportunity to bolster both his brand and Sam's. But exactly how much value Hostel provided to Sam is up for debate. Now, knowing that it was only a matter of time before the rest of the industry caught on, Fouad made it his mission to make Sam Sulek a Hostel athlete.
Somebody put me onto this kid named Sam Sulek.
That's Sam. How'd you spelling that? Oh, I've heard his name.
Sulek.
Yeah, I've heard his name.
I started looking into him a little bit. He's 21 years old. Kid's a freak.
Yeah.
Most of the guys we look at to sign are usually, 30 and up.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to sign somebody like at the start of their career, like, getting going.
Oh, he's got a big YouTube.
Yeah, I looked at his YouTube. It's nuts.
He's got like 220,000 subscribers. Where is he?
I think he's in Columbus.
Should find him.
Message him. Message him. Be like, listen. Message him. Be like, hey, we're hostile teams in Columbus. We're in Ohio.
How big's Ohio though?
Let's say I don't know, but just say we're in Ohio.
Yeah.
Are you training today? We want to come by and catch a workout.
Do you want me to?
I'd like to see what this kid looks like in person.
You really want me to message him? Yeah.
Yeah. Send him a DM. We linked up with Sam Sulek for a workout. Kind of been watching this guy a little bit over the course of the last few weeks, and he's really impressive. I don't know how big he is. I don't know how tall he is. But I figure we'll go in, catch a workout. I'm going to make Ben put him through the ringer and see what he's made of. Maybe he could be a hostile athlete. Or maybe he'd just be a cool kid to work out with. All right, like I said, he's 21. How tall?
Like 5'11".
5'11".
A little bit of change.
How big? What's the weight?
Weight right now at 245.
All right. Come on. Good. Our show first.
Holy yeah, I gotta do the first
21 years old.
Oh, damn.
All right. Let me call him out. Do a front relaxed.
Relaxed?
Yeah.
Hey, tell me how to do it.
Yeah, like that. Okay. Yeah. Drop the shoulder. Lean forward. Open the shoulder back. Pull this. Yeah, there you go. Like that. Yeah, there you go. Posing. I got Paulie here, an IFBB judge, and Ben, who's been around pros and coached pros for a number of years now, and all of us are a little bit fucking mind blown by what we're seeing on a 21-year-old.
In July of 2023, Fouad would announce his signing of Sam Sulek to the Hostel brand.
Sam, I'd like to offer. You have to obviously take some time and think potentially, but
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to offer you a contract with Hostile.
Oh, shit.
So,
for full disclosure, for those of you who don't know, Sam is a Hostile athlete. He signed on about a month ago, and things are going great. So,
now, given his massive popularity, it was an interesting choice, considering he himself was on a greater trajectory than the brand. And it was abundantly clear that Hostel stood to benefit way more from Sam's massive exposure than Sam stood to benefit from the brand. But to be fair, this was his first big break, and an opportunity that was very hard to pass up given how hard he had been grinding. Fouad also didn't take Sam joining the team for granted. The pair immediately got to work on collaborations, as Sam would appear on multiple Hostel videos across their social media. And the Sam Sulek Effect was immediately evident. He single-handedly boosted the view counts on Hostel's YouTube and TikTok videos, bringing in an overwhelmingly greater amount of views than they averaged. His first appearance on the channel brought in 327,000 views, which doubled the view count of their previous 10 videos combined. His next video on the channel would have the same effect, once again gaining 10 times more views than the average video. Signing Sam was immediately paying dividends for the Hostel brand, and it made sense. The kid had amassed over 400,000 TikTok followers and 200,000 subscribers on YouTube while gaining thousands of new subscribers and followers a day. But wait a second, what about Instagram? Well, up until this point, Sam had completely forgone growing on Instagram due to his lack of interest in posting pictures, something which Instagram is obviously catered towards. But understanding that he needed to broaden his reach, he created his Instagram account in July of 2023, instantly gaining over 130,000 followers despite not having any posts at the time. But alas, that was the power that his name carried. The combination of his trajectory and his extremely dedicated fanbase instantly made him more valuable than he had realized. And while he was experiencing more success than he could ever dream of in the summer of 2023, while drawing comparisons to the late great Rich Piana, nobody expected what would happen that upcoming fall.
He does not look like a healthy young man.
In the fall of 2023, Sam Sulek's name would become even more viral than it already was. Having gained another 200,000 TikTok followers by August, he was seeing an average view count closer to 1 million per video. It was a level of success we hadn't seen in the fitness industry before, especially not this quickly. But what was it that gave Sam this second massive wave of virality in August? Well, it was none other than YouTube's Natty or Not authority, Coach Greg.
Just the more I looked into it, the more I was like, are you kidding me? Do people really think that this is natural?
You see, while Sam Sulek was having his own effect, Coach Greg had already established his own for a while at that point. Bridging the generational gap between younger and older lifters with his content, Greg Doucette had become a commentator with massive influence in the industry. So it was only a matter of time before Sam came across his radar, and when he did, it was content magic.
And I do believe this guy is very intelligent. He speaks eloquently, he seems to know what he's saying, but that is not what captures the audience's attention. Rather than putting out valid content that would help the audience, he chooses to do the opposite. And for him, that is a smart, intelligent business maneuver. Please start ego lifting. Obviously, you have to know that this is a joke. There is no way that a guy at 21 years of age with this kind of muscle that believes that you should just be ego lifting in the gym, that you should be lifting heavier weights than you should with improper lifting technique. But he makes that video and it goes viral. 21 years of age, already severe acne, probably on abusive doses of performance-enhancing drugs. But in comparison, had he stayed natural, does anyone think he wouldn't have an amazing physique? I think he's very intelligent. I think he has an amazing physique. And I think that he's going to die an early death because he's abusing performance-enhancing drugs. Sorry, telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Do you really think it's safe to take performance-enhancing drugs at an early age and go on to becoming a Mr. Olympia competitor and have no long-term side effects? Really? You all think that? So please, Sam, be cautious.
He would be the first major fitness commentator to address Sam publicly, but he most certainly wouldn't be the last. Coach Greg's video absolutely took off, as they usually do, and in early August, he'd post a YouTube short about Sam, which led to one of the most viral pieces of content on his entire channel, amassing almost 10 million views as of now.
You see the visual changes in his face. He does not look like a healthy young man, only 21 years of age. And based on his current size and the side effects that are clearly visible, I do believe he's on high doses.
So with Coach Greg experiencing the Sam Sulek effect for himself, he realized that the topic of Sam warranted way more content. On August 10th, 2023, Fouad Abiad's YouTube channel, Fouad Abiad Media, would post a full day of eating video for Sam, followed by a grocery haul video 4 days later on Hostel's channel. The videos detailed what Sam got for groceries and what his diet consisted of, giving fans a much clearer picture of his nutrition. And it was shocking, to say the least.
240 grams of carbs, and then what? 70 grams of protein? So I'll just drink this on the way home. Alright, so the quart of chocolate milk is clearly empty. So I think just a big ass bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and milk will be perfect.
Cheeseburger with mustard, lettuce, ketchup, and actually that'll be it. Mustard, lettuce, ketchup, and a medium fry and a large drink.
A about 4,700. You know, pretty much I want to hit at least 52-ish. 11 grams of fat, 22 grams of carbs in each of these. There's 3 grams of protein, but I mean, it's from dough. So that plus, I don't know how large these cups are, but maybe 4 cups of milk. That's going to be another 30 grams of protein, 30 of fat, and almost 50 carbs, 48 carbs. That's perfect. I can take my vitamins and go to bed.
Now, while Sam had discussed his diet on his own YouTube channel in the past, he hadn't made it a habit to dive deep into all of his nutrition. So to reveal that the majority of what he ate was far from what was expected for a conventional bodybuilder made everyone's head explode, including Coach Greg, who would make a video on Sam's diet that would unsurprisingly go viral.
Close to this and actually be healthy. It is not true. This was a horrendous diet, one of the worst diets I have ever seen. And remember, this is a very smart and intelligent kid. But in watching this video, you have to be thinking, how could such an intelligent human being eat such a horrendously awful diet? I mean, how much food do we need to eat before going to the gym to actually have a good workout? And I don't want these people to copy this diet. They're thinking calories in, calories out. As long as I'm eating a surplus, all the junk, the bulk, I could also put on more muscle. This is not the way. And so rather than going home and eating a healthy meal, they then go to Five Guys and have a cheeseburger, fries, and drink? Really? This is the off-season diet they were trying to promote to the world?
The biggest fitness critic talking about the hottest rising fitness influencer, it was a recipe for a social media takeover. Because everyone who didn't already know about Sam wanted to learn more about the mass monster who ate cereal for breakfast, Five Guys for lunch, and was still able to maintain that low of a body fat percentage. Now, a week after Coach Greg's criticism of his diet, Renaissance Periodization would critique Sam's workouts on his massive platform, amassing over 1 million views on that video.
Yeah. Another problem with such inconsistent range of motion is it's very difficult to determine where failure is. He seems to just be like when he's really, really tired, he gives up, which is also totally cool, but it can create some variation training session to training session. And ideally what you want to do is have as little variation as possible, but for the variables you control. Yeah, I was curious. The range of motion is very low. If he grabbed closer together, automatically this is all range generated for the back musculature. He's dropping that eccentric real fast. Quick reversal. Man. Pec injuries are real, folks, especially when you're on steroids. Pot calling the kettle black, but it's just true. Especially when you're young and growing really fast, your pec muscle size can outpace your tendons temporarily. And doing rapid eccentrics on an incline barbell has, in prior cases, resulted in devastating pec injury. I would not want to see this happen to Mr. Sam, who seems like a real small guy. So.
This criticism of Sam sparked a mass conversation around the influencer that took over the fitness industry unlike anything we had ever seen before. Some people fell in love with him and became absolute fans, while some were just intrigued by him. And then you had others who absolutely hated him and everything he represented. While he had already been criticized by 2 massive names in the industry, it would only continue with Athlete X, who's been one of the biggest names around for years. In late August, he'd also chime in with his own video expressing concern for Sam.
You need to have, and I preach this all the time, you need to have a stable foundation. If he was my son right now, I would be terrified.
Yeah.
Every single day, I would be terrified about the path he's going down and even about the things it appears he's doing right now. I'd love to see this kid succeed for the next 80 years and beyond. My concerns are that that won't happen. That won't happen. I saw a comment on a video that this kid said that he showed his mother, who was a former competitive bodybuilder who had abused steroids, they showed him Sam. Yeah. And she said, don't get attached to him.
Regardless of what camp anyone was in, you could not actively be in the fitness space and not hear or see Sam's influence daily. He was inescapable and had developed a cult of personality that hadn't been seen since the rise of Chris Bumstead. He'd have multiple fan and satellite accounts now reposting his content and blowing up as well, giving him the best kind of free promo. Combine this with the exposure that Coach Greg and Athlete X's criticism gave him, Sam was at 1 million TikTok followers by September of 2023 and over 700,000 subscribers on YouTube. He had also gained over 200,000 new followers on his Instagram in September upon posting his first picture, promising his fans that there would be more to come. His name became so valuable that anything Sam Sulek adjacent would go viral on its own. The simple mention of his name was almost a cheat code for views, because by this point he was one of, if not the most polarizing fitness influencer of all time. The first point of contention was his alleged gear use. Weighing over 230 pounds at 21 years old, many felt that Sam was putting his life at risk while spreading a dangerous message to the youth that excessive gear use could yield his results. He was growing fast, almost too fast, and that had a lot of people concerned, especially the science-based lifters that he had built a career making fun of. Speaking of science-based lifters, they represent a large majority of the successful fitness influencers and commentators alike. Primarily because you can't argue science. It's cut and dry. And Sam's outright rejection of it was another point of contention among his detractors and fans. Many felt that Sam's training principles and methodology was a dangerous message to the impressionable youth, because ego lifting and rejecting science rarely works out for you when you're natural. What also rarely works out for natural lifters is eating whatever you want, which was the third point of contention. Entire arguments would form around the topic of whether or not Sam's diet was viable for most, given the scientific aspect of nutrition.
You know, in a bulking or a dieting context, calories are calories. You know, as long as you have a reasonable distribution of macros, right? That's your carbs, fats, proteins. Then, I mean, I think you can kind of eat whatever the hell you want.
His followers had fully conformed to his simple ideology of calories in versus calories out, while his critics emphasized the importance of the quality of calories. It was an all-out bloodbath in comment sections, which served for some hilarious entertainment in itself.
And may the Christian Lord guide my hand against a Roman popery. Prepare to receive the true Lord.
The passion behind this divide is what made him the most polarizing fitness influencer in the industry, and with Coach Greg having gotten the ball rolling on the Sam Sulek case study, everyone else would follow suit.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't take advice from Sam, but I would be very hesitant to do so, because when you're young, you're dumb. That's how you become old and wise.
It's just a camera on a tripod, and he's just doing his thing and sharing his thoughts, which is very simple, but after watching it, it makes sense why it works.
And though he hasn't said so outright, it's likely he started using PEDs in his teenage years, judging by the extremity of his transformation alone.
Here is his progress from 2019, when he was a swimmer, to now. I think he ate the Liver King.
As Coach Greg would continue to make content on Sam, big names like Shredded Sports Science and Seth Feroce would continue the conversation.
I will say this, anybody that is a young man like Sam, whenever I was 21 years old, I had a good grasp on training. I fucking loved it. My diet was not that great. Sounds very similar. He looks like he trains hard. His diet, it didn't sound too good, but it's working for him.
And so he's part of the sort of train insane, comedic posts, brutal discipline and focus type movement towards young guys that we see on TikTok. And so that does have a lot of good in terms of motivating young people towards their gym goals. But of course, the other side of that is this is a guy who's 21 years old, clearly abusing PEDs, which of course brings about health risks, because we've normalized the abuse of PEDs to people of very young ages through, well, mainly social media.
Now, all of this conversation around Sam Sulek would magnify the darkest aspect of human nature, that being our innate pleasure in watching self-destruction. It's the reason why TLC has been able to generate billions of dollars in revenue off of the suffering and exploitation of people whose lives should not be televised. The same reason why Dr. Phil and Oprah Winfrey have been able to generate billions of dollars off of televising family trauma and toxicity. Aspects of strangers' lives that have no business being on air. Because unfortunately, we find entertainment watching these car wrecks from afar, especially when the participants are willing and complicit in presenting that to us. So just like in the case of Sam Sulek, many people saw him as a car accident waiting to happen. A kid self-destructing for the sake of likes and clout. A kid who many felt was recklessly putting his life in danger. So the idea of watching him slowly kill himself with steroids highlighted that sick pleasure we get from being bystanders of self-destruction. And this would be a major factor in the influx of new viewers across all of his social media platforms. By October of 2023, he was headed to the moon. He'd hit 1.5 million followers on TikTok, 1.6 million on Instagram, and break the million subscriber barrier on YouTube while averaging hundreds of thousands of views per video. By this time, even more fan pages were popping out of the woodwork, getting him in front of an even bigger and broader audience. It was his time, and all those people who saw him a year prior and knew he'd blow up were elated to see how far he had come, because nobody could have predicted even that level of fame so quickly. And in November of 2023, he'd land on the radar of one of the biggest media personalities in the world.
Who's Sam Sulek?
Dude, Jamie, you gotta look him up.
No, what does he weigh now? 237 in 2023. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. That's so much weight.
And I don't know how, I think he's super young.
He looks young.
Yeah.
I think it's worth discussing. Fuck.
Bro, you can hear the steroids in his voice.
A few minutes
It's like he's
last.
gargling in steroids.
That's, I think people can be inspired by that and be like,
Fuck yeah.
hey, I'm not going to be a freak, but I can push harder.
Also, it might make them take a road trip to Mexico to fill up the trunk.
I don't know. Here for a good time, not a long time.
Well, that's definitely the case with folks like that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those guys, those really big guys, they have real problems.
Joe Rogan's brand had kind of built its own effect over the last decade, bringing in mass exposure to anyone he ever talked about due to his audience being so mainstream. So when he talked about Sam Sulek, it was a massive deal, because Joe Rogan rarely talks about specific fitness influencers. In fact, the only bodybuilder he ever interviewed was Ronnie Coleman, and the only influencer, More Plates, More Dates. But with the trajectory that Sam is already on, combined with him being able to reach mainstream radars, I wouldn't put it past him to become one of the few fitness influencers to end up on the Joe Rogan Experience.